and welcome to Mountain Patriot Homestead. Well, we are through with the first week of 2024. Can you believe it? We're already a week has flown by. And I don't know what you have spent your week doing, but part of my goal for this year is to try to get things a little more organized around the house, and especially my pantry items. Now, when I say pantry, it can have a whole lot of different meanings for me. I can be talking about my freezer, I can be talking about my cabinets, my pantry, just whatever means I have of storing it. That is, when I say pantry, that is actually what I'm talking about. And if you are trying to make your financial goals this year, one of the first places to look and to concentrate on is your food pantries, your food storage, and how you use those things. And depending on how aware you are of what you own and what you need, you can save a considerable amount of money just by following a few ideas. And here's some of those ways that I save. Number one is knowing what food you already have on hand. So many times things get lost in cupboards and the bottom of freezers, the back of refrigerators, and those lost items cost you money. So the first thing is knowing what you have on hand that you can turn to and make recipes out of, because those things that you can turn into ready-made meals are going to save you money in the long run. Another source for our food is right outside the door where we fish in our pond for our fresh fish. We grow catfish, and we're able to, when they bite, put enough in the freezer for several meals and hopefully enough through the winter months, again, as long as they're biting. Now, the way that we prepare them may not be the healthiest in the world, but we sure do love fried catfish and hush puppies. So look right outside your door or where you can go nearby, because perhaps you can get some fish to put in your own freezer. Another resource for fresh, healthy food comes directly from our garden. And regardless of whether we grow it in buckets, in raised beds, directly in the ground, however we choose to grow our vegetables, every summer we are providing not only for the present, but into the future with all the fresh vegetables and fruits that we are able to put by. We can eat it right then in salads or however we choose to do so, or those same fruits and vegetables get frozen, they get canned, they get dehydrated, and they make meals that give us a taste of summer all year long. And whether it's soups or as side dishes or just by themselves, the vegetables are adding so much nutrients and vitamins to our diet that, if you get enough through your foods, you won't need near the supplements later on. So that is a big thing for us, is being able to put by as much fresh fruits and vegetables as we can grow here on our own homestead. And no matter where you live, you can do the same thing. As long as you have a sunny windowsill, stick you a plant up in there and see what you can grow. When people talk about free-range chickens, our chickens truly are free-ranging. They are able to safely roam all over our property here, and in return, they give us some wonderful eggs that we make into a lot of meals. We include in our baking. We eat them pretty much every morning. And so we are provided with an ongoing source of food from these eggs. And in addition to that, we also raise meat birds that keep our freezer stocked with fresh meat. And that we know exactly where our food is coming from. We're also blessed enough to be able to raise our other meats as well. So we have a variety in our diet and are not just relying on one thing to keep us sustained. Gardening is not always easy, but it does give you a sense of accomplishment when you can put by food that you have grown with your own hands, that you've watched it start from a tiny seed and then become this food that you can put on your plate in front of your family and feed your family directly from things that you've grown, that you've harvested, that you've prepared, and just be able to give that to your loved ones and know where that came from. Know that it is not full of a bunch of preservatives or that you've not put any poisons on it. And so this is just part of knowing where your food comes from. Now, sometimes my canned goods come out of the cabinet that I have bought at the store. Many times my canned goods come from produce and fruits that I have harvested and put by myself, including dehydrating. That is a big form of what I do here. I dehydrate a lot of our stuff. But I will admit that we do eat things that aren't the healthiest for us in the world. So, yes, guilty as charged. And one final way that we save here on the homestead is using up leftovers. As I've told you, if you've watched any of my previous videos when I talk about cooking here on the homestead, I don't throw away things. I use the leftovers. And so even though I have here in a slow cooker beside me going a pot of peas that I will be canning here later this afternoon. Good healthy stuff, mind you. I also have something maybe not so healthy, but very, very good. It is, okay, here's what I done with this leftover, or what this leftover came from. Originally, back on Thanksgiving, I overfixed a big, huge sweet potato casserole dish. Now, it was way more than, because there was so much other food, it was way more than anybody was going to eat, and it was. And so I had this massive amount of sweet potato casserole made. So I was not going to throw that away because these were sweet potatoes that we had actually grown. So I took those sweet potatoes, that sweet potato casserole, and I froze it. Now, when Christmas rolled around, there was just me and my husband, so I didn't even bring it out because I'm the only one that'll eat sweet potatoes between me and him. He's not going to eat sweet potatoes, so I didn't even bring it out. But then when my youngest came for New Year's, I decided I didn't have any pumpkin to make him a pumpkin pie, so I decided I was going to make a sweet potato pie. So I took out that sweet potato casserole that I had left, and all I did, it was already sweetened, it was already had all the spices in it that it needed. I just added a little bit of cinnamon, even though it had enough cinnamon. I just love cinnamon. So I brought that out, thawed it, then I mixed it up. I whipped it up really good, added some milk in it, and I added egg in it, and then I made it into a sweet potato pie. I just used it just as if I'd been using a pumpkin mix. I made sweet potato pie directly from that. Well, I still, even after making the sweet potato pies, I still had enough left that I still had a bowl full of this stuff left. So I was not going to throw that mix away, so I put it in the refrigerator. But yesterday, I was looking at it and I brought it out and decided I was going to use it as an addition into a yellow cake mix. So I had in my cabinet, that's, being aware of what you have, in my cabinet I had a yellow cake mix. So I took that yellow cake mix out and I mixed in eggs and that's eggs and a little oil. That was all I had to put in it. And then I put that sweet potato mix that was in there that had all of those spices and all of that sort of thing in there. Added that to that yellow cake mix. And you see that beautiful color there. Added that in there and it makes it so moist, so yummy. Now if you notice, this is kind of got a cinnamon looking tint to the icing on top, which is not pretty, by the way, because I covered it with foil and it just kind of stuck to it overnight in the refrigerator, but that's okay. But the icing that is on top of it is a canned icing, but I still had some of the sweet potato mix left. All I did was I added it into the icing and mixed it up really good into the icing and gave me this wonderful, flavorful icing that I put on top of the cake. And so I ended up with just this gorgeous, wonderful, moist cake just from leftovers. It was leftovers from leftovers, and it still made something wonderful, different from what it originally was. And so don't throw out your leftovers. Just reimagine them and use them to feed your family. Don't use them to feed the landfill, okay? And even if you can't eat all of something and you have to do something with it, sometimes if it's certain things, birds or around here, any of our critters will eat whatever. So, try to find other ways. Ask your neighbors if they can use something. If you just got entirely too much leftovers and maybe you don't have a way to freeze it all. Just whatever you have to do. But again, know what you have. Be creative in how to use it. Google it if you've got to. Find ways to use things. Use your own creativity. I mean, if it's something you're going to throw out anyway, if you've got 5 pounds of sweet potato casserole and you're just thinking, well, I'm just going to have to throw that out. Well, instead of throwing it out, try using it in a different way. And, at the most, you could have come up with a wonderful new recipe that everybody in your family loves, and at the worst, I guess, you were going to throw it away anyway. So know what you got. Shop at home first. Save those dollars. It makes sense. Love y'all. Hope you have a wonderful afternoon. Mountain Patriot Homestead, signing out.